I'm Carol. I'm one of the artists that's going to be in the Glen Festival of the Arts 2024. I'm in my backyard because I want to show you how I created a painting using the inspiration of my blackberry bush, and I also want to talk about some of the medium that I use. So let's go back in time. I always start by taking a lot of pictures of my subject with my phone. I'd rather have too many pictures than not enough. And while it's on my phone, I'll often crop them and start looking at them and analyzing them. And generally I get down to maybe 1 or 2 pictures I like the most, and I then take that picture and import it to my iPad and into a program called Procreate. In Procreate, I open up a new file and I put that particular photo in that particular file. Once I get it in there, it's on a much larger screen then, and I do any final cropping that I might want to do. So I'm going to crop it down just a little bit more, and then I'll copy it onto a different layer in the program, and then I will fix it so I can't see the original one, and then I'll enlarge that final layer to a bigger size, and that'll serve as my reference picture while I'm painting. Now, the next thing I have to do is decide what medium I'm going to use. And I decided with this particular one, I was going to start with egg tempera, a medium that not a lot of people are familiar with. So let's talk about egg tempera.
To make egg tempera paint, you start with an egg, and you have to crack it. And then the goal is to separate the yolk from the white and the shells. Start that with your hands, but then you pretty quickly go to a paper towel. You want to make sure you get all of the white off of the yolk. And then, well, it looks pretty good. You take a knife and you put a hole in it, and the yolk comes out, but the membrane does not, which you don't want. So now you've got your egg yolk, a little bit of water to the egg yolk, and I'll mix them together. And so now that's my binder. To that binder you add some kind of pigment, and you have to mix the two together. So you're going to use a mixing plate. So I'm going to grab my pigment, put it on the plate, and you want about the same amount of egg yolk as you have pigment. And then generally it's a good idea to have a little bit of extra water in there too. Not too much. And now you have to mix the pigment and the egg yolk together, the binder. And you can do that with a palette knife. You got to get it really well mixed because you want to have egg yolk coating every single particle of that pigment. Some pigments are harder to mix than others, and so I'll often use, it's called a glass molar, to mix it. Only because I'm old. And after it's mixed, you've got your paint. So then all you need is something to paint. So I've got paper here. The thing about egg tempera is it dries very, very fast. So I can do lots and lots of what's called glazes over it. I don't reactivate the old part. So I can go over here and you can just go right over it. If you want it thinner, you can add water to it and get a much thinner wash. And the cool thing about egg tempera is you can get these really, really fine lines. And that's all there is.
Now we're going to look at me doing the painting in egg tempera. I started with the blossom, and this is over time. After I worked on the blossom and got that fairly developed, I went on to the leaves. And again, this is over time that you're looking at it. After I got done with the leaves, then I started working on the background. But the leaves took me a while because I believe in leaves. And I had to redo a little bit of the blossom because things got messed up a little bit. Now I'm starting in on the background, and I really wasn't sure what to do on the background. I taped over what I'd done so far so I could get long strokes in, and I tried a bunch of different things. I wasn't really happy with any of them, so I kept trying. And I kept trying until finally I decided that looked good, and that's where I stopped. And that was my final part of the egg tempera. While I was happy with the egg tempera, I wanted to do something different with that background again. So I went on and tried it in watercolor. With watercolors, I start with a sketch, and then I attack the whole thing, except I saved the blossom for last. And that's my final development on the watercolor. A different background. The blossom's pretty much the same, and the leaves are pretty much the same. But the background was very, very different. And I felt like both the pictures had a different vibe to them, so to speak, and it really depended on the medium that I was using as to what the final outcome was, as well as my interpretation of the blackberry blossom. So I look forward to discussing my art with you more at the 2024 Festival of the Arts in Glen, Ellyn.